Oh, my face. Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7:05 p.m. Central. We're still moshing with the apocalypse, and it's Year of the Rabbit now. Year of the Bunny.
Well, in China, it's not quite Year of the Bunny
Oh,
here.
it's not there yet?
Yeah, it's the new moon. It's this weekend though, so it's
Okay.
good.
I was a tiger. It's supposed to be my year. It felt more like Pinhead from Hellraiser torturing me, so I didn't think it was really like a bonus year for me. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. There's water tigers and wood tigers. I don't even know which one I am. Maybe wood or something. I don't know. But it didn't seem very tigery to me. But our whole December was COVID and the flu. So that was my vacation and my birthday. But we got Wham here with us tonight.
Hey.
Hudson Valley representing.
Yep.
Tonight's guest is Tammy Billups, Animal Wayshowers. Is it showers or showers?
Showers.
Wayshowers. The light workers ushering in 5D consciousness. We're about to get started. There's one little small thing I want to say that was upsetting, and then we'll start the interview. Julian Sands, the actor,
Yes,
who was in Warlock, and I forget what else. I've seen him in some weird vampire movie. He's in weird horror stuff back in like the 80s, and I'm sure he's been in other stuff, but went ice whatever climbing
on Mount Baldy. Yes,
and he's gone for 6 days. They can't find him. That sounds really bad. Like
they found his car.
Yeah, and a ping on his cell phone. But this British dude, an actor that's been around for a while, but wouldn't catch me out there. But apparently he's used to doing that kind of stuff. One last plug: Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. This is a place that takes down these nut houses that do weird things to dogs and stuff like that. Like that beagle situation that happened in that, I forget where it was, but they were doing all kinds of tests and crazy stuff. The place I prank called and said, hell's coming, one day when I was mad because it reminded me of my dog Jack, who passed away of 16 years. And there was some petition online or something. So I didn't threaten anybody, but I made a prank call to this weird lab. And then a month or so later, it got shut down. And all the beagles went out to different places for people to adopt and everything. But doing sick stuff there, like in the name of science. But that's great and everything, but you got to torture little puppies, to do it. That's where there's got to be a line crossed. But Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM.org, PCRM.org. You can go there and donate, and they match it. They were. I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but they take these places down. So PCRM.org. Check it out. Well, great to have you here, Tammy. I had a dog pass not too long ago that was with me for 16 years. Jack was like a Beagle Terrier, Jack Russell Terrier mix, but he smiled and had the personality that was like a little ET following me around all the time. And I would walk the trails with him, and he was with me for 16 years, so it affected me when he passed. To this day, it affected me more than I knew it would, but it's like it just sticks with you, sort of. But it's good to have you here. And I guess tell us what you mean by animal wayshowers.
Well, first, I'm so sorry about Jack. And gosh, 16 years. I mean, that's a 24/7 type of relationship. That's hard to recover from, So my thoughts to you on that. And animal wayshowers. Yeah, wayshowers, I guess, isn't a word that's officially in Webster. But it's the first time I heard it was maybe 22 years ago, and it was a spiritual teacher that was using it, and it literally means showing the way. And it's usually depicted on people who are light workers that are serving a greater mass of people, of beings around them that can hold and maintain a higher vibration such that their presence alone is healing for all of those in their wake, all of those in their orbit. So, and I know lots of animals that do that. I don't know about you, but I know plenty of them that I've been working with around the globe for many, many years. And so a lot of them I started feeling their soul's presence, quite frankly. And I really do feel like this is their book, not mine, because I'm just the one that's honored to share a lot of the stories, a lot of the information that I've learned from them over the years.
And I noticed you're in Georgia. That's where I'm from. I'm in the panhandle of Florida now. And I had a lot of strange experiences there from some UFO stuff and things like that happened. I have them here too, but good old Georgia for sure. And I guess share some stories so we can let our audience understand, let us all understand what we're talking about. And then you say they're carriers of 5D consciousness.
Yeah, well, this 5D, we're familiar with 3D consciousness, obviously, the duality of it, the struggle of it, the right and wrong, and how we get stuck in that. But of course, animals are holding this higher vibration. They're not judging anyone around them, so they're just showing up, and they can read a room better than any person. They can walk in and know exactly what people need, and try to help them get it, because they're so tuned in. They're just so connected. So an example, I'm trying to think. Okay, so the first one that pops in my mind is that there's this dog. Oh God, I'm pretty sure the dog's name, her name is Aniel. His name, I believe, is Prince. And an example, anyway, just a small example of a Wayshower trait is that she had decided that she wanted to get a divorce. And so she began setting up appointments to go look at apartments. And every time she'd get ready to leave the house to go look at a new apartment to move out, oh, it's Pepper. And Pepper would all of a sudden go lame, where all of a sudden he's laying up. He can't even stand up. He won't get up. And he can't walk. And she'd go, oh my gosh. I mean, when your animal is lame and they can't walk, what do? You freak out. You take him to the vet, right? You stop everything that you're doing. Well, every single time she would be walking out the door to go look at an apartment to leave, this would happen. And the vet would find nothing and say, well, it might just be, the spine, and might this, but I don't see anything. And all of a sudden one day she went, there's got to be a coincidence here. Why does it only happen when I'm leaving to go, look at apartments, and then I, decide not to, and Pepper's running around just fine then. I mean, like literally running around. But yet, of course she wanted to tend to Pepper. And all of a sudden she realized that that's what he was doing, that trying to stop her from doing that. And she and her husband then put all the cards on the table, and they worked everything out, and it just became one happy family again. And they attribute Pepper to saving their marriage. And that's just a small example. I just think is a hoot, but I mean, it is amazing what our animals will do for us in any given moment. They're always trying to get a message to us. But that's just one example. But I have many examples of those that are just serving with their person that's serving, and how they are healers for their people's clients. I mean, it's really extraordinary.
And what were some ways that what happened during COVID with some animal stories?
Well, I remember one time I was teaching a class not long after the whole COVID thing began. And in the very beginning, everybody had fear. They were afraid to touch their mail. I mean, it was pretty incredible. And everybody had to hold up, and of course animals showed up because people couldn't leave and go hug all the people and touch all the people that they loved, and animals would just show up for them, like, hug me, I'm here. But I remember conducting a Zoom class a few months afterwards, when not that many people really knew someone that had it, at that point. And she shared the story about how she had COVID. And actually she was in bed still recovering. She just set up her Zoom, and we all saw her in bed. And she goes, well, I want you to know my cat I think saved me. And it's like, well, can you share? And she said, the fever got so high and nobody can come in. My husband's, everybody else is staying in a different part of the house, and I'm in here. And the fever just wouldn't go away for days, and it kept getting higher. And her cat would just hole up on the bed. and, completely out of its normal routine and just lay on the bed. But then one day, after several days of this, fever not breaking, the cat insisted upon, she was lying on her side. The cat insisted upon getting under the covers and curling up like like all of a sudden they were spooning. And then the cat started convulsing. And before you know it, the cat started throwing up phlegm and then jumped on the floor and then continued to just throw up and throw up phlegm. And all of a sudden, her fever broke. Instantaneously, her fever broke. And then the cat, for the first time in days, said, "Open the door. I'm done here. My job is done here." And I just, I cried, at hearing the story of what this cat absorbed and helped her move out. And that's what I believe happened, and that's what she believed happened. She's a vet. She's a veterinarian. And she said, this cat saved me. And she goes, immediately my fever broke. But they, lots of good stuff happened for animals that year too, because so many got adopted. I mean, so many of the shelters were cleaned out that year because everybody knew it was a good time to bring an animal in the house, right?
And when I was younger and I went through chemo when I was younger for testicular cancer, I had a Siamese cat that would always meet me and lay on me when I was in the bed and stuff. And she would meet me and wait for me and then come up there. Her name was Moochie. She was a Siamese, but remembering that story. But what are some tools for developing 5D relationships with some of these animal companions, friends? I know there's a lot, but what are some of the main ones?
Well, I'll give you some small little things you can do that are just going to help to pivot the energy in the house to start to allow more of this 5D energy to hold up for longer periods of time, like what animals are trying to teach us. One of the things you can do is, how we always say either good dog or good boy or good girl. Well, that's again that duality. And in 5D consciousness, which is where love is, which is where gratitude and forgiveness and peace and harmony and no suffering is, that's 5D consciousness. Well, instead of saying good dog or good boy or good girl, say thank you. And instead of, saying I would remove bad from your vocabulary, again, that just keeps things in that 3D reality that we don't want and contributes to sometimes more of the undesired behavior that you don't want from your animal. So you kind of want to, given that every situation demands a different response, of course, when possible, you kind of just pivot out of behavior that they're, doing that you don't want and start visualizing what you do want them to do, because they pick up on our thoughts, they pick up on the visuals in our mind. And so if all we're thinking of is the behavior we don't want, then it's almost as if we're telling them we want them to do that instead of what we really want them to do. So the focus should be on the desired behavior. And then when they do that, you say thank you. And then try to practice telepathy with them. You can do that by dropping to your heart and just begin to believe. And, there's imagine this cord connecting both of you heart to heart. And just close your eyes and begin to really practice that with them, because they're already reading your mind. So you might as well consciously try to begin chatting with them in that way. Another tip would be resist kind of projecting your emotions on them. When you notice that you're short with them or you're mad at them, that's just them saying, pushing your button and saying, you've got some anger in there that needs to clear. And though they willingly take that, I think a better idea might be to kind of just pivot out of that and say, oh, I've got some anger to move out. Let me go over here. Let me go do that in a healthier way instead of creating the karma of putting it on another being, which a lot of people will do with their animals, and not conscious people, of course. But it's just whenever I'm a little short with my animals, I'm like, oh, looky there, got something brewing in there, because that's how it rolls. The universe will always bring us what we need to work on. And, and I'll give one more. I've got a lot more, but another small one might be to use positive labels and names with your animals. 3D programming is really quick to give others, negative labels via name calling and stereotyping certain behaviors, which can contribute to more 3D experiences for you both. So animals will embody the energy of the names and labels you give them. So choose wisely, because if you say something really negative to them and you start calling them that all the time, they're going to live into that. They absolutely will. And so you want to name them and call them by names that are more positive.
And I remember the story and made notes. Shamanic Joybringer Ruby and Bella was that about a golden retriever coming to someone after she had a loss with her dog, and there's a lot of shamanism involved.
Yeah. Yeah. So you liked that story, that particular one? Yeah.
Yes.
She's yes, Bella is definitely is what she has a blue eye and a brown eye, which was really attracting Ruby to it, because she knew that in shamanic beliefs that's a sign of living in both the spirit world and the earth world simultaneously, and that they can, that they're bringing shamanic gifts in. So yeah, Bella was absolutely the matriarch of this all intentional community in the North Carolina mountains. And there is not another, even the dogs that were biters that would go after the other dogs never went after Bella. They loved Bella. Bella showed up as love and joy. I mean, she really did show up as joy. Anybody who saw her immediately was lifted up into the light, and she would tour all these homes, and everybody knew Bella. And like I said, there was no one that didn't love her. And she knew how to show up in this 5D consciousness and share joy.
And in the chapter Light Warriors of the Animal Kingdom, you bring up the Hawaiian kind of shamanism, and of course I'm going to have trouble saying that word, Hapona Popona. I've had Serge Kahali King on about Hawaiian Huna shamanism, so that's pretty interesting. How does that tie into Light Warriors of the Animal Kingdom?
Well, Ho'oponopono is
There it goes.
yeah, Ho'oponopono is those four Hawaiian statements, because a lot of, and I brought that into that chapter when I was talking about how much people will have guilt around choices they made around their animals. And sometimes, it's like, well, I should have done this, or I wouldn't have lost them, or, shouldn't have left the gate open. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why we keep going over these things in our mind and beating ourselves up all the time. And so I added that in that chapter to just give another tool, a resource to the reader, to really know that you can go into that prayer of forgive me. I'm trying to think of the four statements now. Thank you. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Okay.
Your intention, that's a big part of it. Intention.
Yes. And really going into those four statements, when you say them, I mean, it's such an old ritual that really so many people say go back to Atlantis, even of those four statements when combined, when you get the right four statements, that it can really line you up with allowing in a level of forgiveness that's very powerful.
It's definitely the Hawaiian way. I know his Serge's first book was Urban Shamanism, but when I interviewed him a long time ago, I got struck by lightning while on the phone. And it came through, it hit the front of the house and came through the line, and I felt it. And I had rubber sandals on, and it scared the crap out of me. But he goes, that's a sign of great power, which is funny. But I continued doing the show. It didn't kill me. I mean, I didn't, I was okay after the show. It just freaked me out more than anything. I just remember that. He's like, that's a sign of great power, which he was being funny, but I guess serious too at the same time. I don't know.
That's very true. In shamanism, that is a sign. They say every true shaman has been struck by lightning.
And then plus you just got struck by lightning. So yeah, it's a great it's like the power company coming through your body.
Apropos, yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to the afterlife, I know we've talked about this before when you were on, of dogs and cats, what have you found out that it's like? Let's say you lose your your animal friend, what do you think happens after that?
For the animal?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've been connected formally, energetically to lots of animals as they've transitioned. People hire me for that, and so that I can tell them kind of what I see happening when they're greeted on the other side. So I'm happy to talk about that. It's really cool, and it's very heart opening. The one thing that I will share, and maybe I did share this last time, I don't remember talking about it, but I believe that we have a part of our soul that remains on the other side called our heart, our higher self. And in every case that I've been connected to an animal, the person's higher self is the one that's greeting them. So it's like you are the one that's greeting them, along with whoever else the person's called in. They're always there. Whenever I describe someone, they'll always say, well, I called in, that's Uncle so and so, or that's my other dog, or whatever. They're always there. You can count on that. And then sometimes there are these very ritualistic things that I see, like sacred circles. Like I remember there was this one woman. She does these priestess circles, and Lily, her dog, had always been with her in these priestess circles. And as soon as Lily crossed, I saw all of these priestesses in the circle on the other side welcoming Lily. We kind of like that whole theory of, the Buddhist will see Buddha and Jesus will see Jesus. I mean, there is that component of it, but then I believe that that we will partner with certain animals time and time again for our mutual growth. So where they go beyond that initial greeting, I'm sure there's all kind. Who knows? I mean, I believe there's all kinds of options. I've read lots of things around that too, but I believe that we are connected with a few animals more than others that we'll partner with. And I know my two cats I have. They've been with me in this life 2 and 3 times.
And then I was worried Jack got reincarnated into that stupid place that tortures those kind of animals. So that's why I was like, I did a prank call. I just said hell's coming and hung up, but that's it. But it did come because a few weeks later they got shut down. So, but that was still kind of neat. But Christina's the one who gave me that pet thing. I just helped bring them down and plug it and everything. But so what can you tell us about? You have a lot of horse stories. Do you have one in particular you like to share about a horse?
Yeah, I mean, since I know that you're into the shaman side, I'll talk to you about a horse named Magic, and his person Hope, when they reunited together, meaning that she thought she was going to go look for to adopt a painted horse, and as soon as she walked in where there were these available horses to be adopted, there was one horse that just started following her around and would not leave her, and that was Magic, and he ended up going home with her, and he was an extraordinary uh, wayshower in that he had the ability to really hold what I call transformational healing presence. And that's what I alluded to earlier, in that just by being around him, that you feel better. And usually the way showers, I might add, are not needy or dependent, and they are not looking for treats and thanks. And, they're not needy at all. They're, in fact, they can be kind of detached, which might fit this Aquarian moon we're about to be in right now. But Hope would have these fire circles and shamanic circles on the back of her property. And Magic, of course, it was a huge fenced area, but every time they would be having some type of big ceremony, Magic would come out and he would start running circles around them and holding this sacred space. And the seers that independently, were there at different times, but all say that they could see the spirit of this Native American chief on its back. And Hope also had, she'd have women's groups there where they did a lot of healing, and she watched how the women would approach him, and really how Magic would alter his approach for every single woman to help them heal something. Some of them would just start crying as soon as they saw him. Some of them would laugh. Some would hug him, and he would hold this very stoic space for each of them to heal. it is really extraordinary to know. He's one of the ones in the book that I know well. I've met him, I wrote him, and he changed me for the better.
Well, I know in your bio it says that you experienced four losses within a few months, and it was the catalyst to your gifts opening up. And I think on a lot of levels, and people have told me going through testicular cancer and all that crap opened up my senses because I had that happen, and then a few years later, my dad died, and then I started to see a lot of weird. I saw light beings leave my house and fly into the heavens, completely sober with my. Just my eyes just saw them like they had been inside my house and came out and flew. And I'll never forget it. The guy coming on after you did a piece of art of that because I wish I would have got it on my phone or something, which maybe it wouldn't have showed up on my phone. I don't know. But it was like that pain and suffering of going through all that opened my senses. And then, of course, there was weird UFO stuff. We've had, you name it, from UFOs on nuclear physicists, Air Force pilots. Like, we take it very serious and talk about that. But what can you tell us about pain opening your senses? That seems like that does it. That's definitely a doorway that sucks, but at least there's a plus there somehow.
Yeah. Well, that year that was absolutely the worst year of my life, and of course one of those worst year, best years kind of thing, because there was a lot of pain and suffering because simultaneously it was first my mother passed and I was kind of a student of her passing because she started talking to people on the other side. That was all new to me. She started saying, "Oh, so and so was just here," and I'd say, "Darlene," and she'd go, "Oh, how can that be? She's passed." And that just started something going in my mind. I started just thinking, "What the what?" Because that was new for me. And she passed pretty quickly. And then I came back home after getting dad settled, and then my first kitty passed. And all of a sudden, because my awareness had changed through mom's passing, all of a sudden I could see her. And then it just didn't stop though. It just opened up into 14 different dimensions, and I had a lot of fear around it, which brought in a lot of fear, which means I saw a lot of things that I didn't want to see from other planets and other things. And I was all it was. And the other thing that happened was that all of my memories from all of the trauma and the sexual abuse and everything that had happened to me in my first 8 years of life all of a sudden came back, like amnesia. Somebody turned on the light. I had all of those memories that I had repressed, and it wasn't pleasant. And yes, I believe that. And then my other two animals died as well, and I was hopeless at that time. I quit my job. Everything changed for me, and it was a painful year. And I'll tell you that the animals that I had with me, they were with me. I mean, through those sleepless nights, and I had a lot of sleepless nights for a lot of stuff that was going on in my house right then. They were right beside me, and I'm so grateful. And I think that happens for a lot of people, is you awaken to a different way, to believing differently, a different level of awareness, and then your pain has to get its wings. Because you've been repressing it. I used to be sick all the time and had surgery, and weighed 100 pounds more than what I do now. And I mean, it's just a gamut of things. Everything changed that year with just raising, my level of consciousness around what's going on other levels that I had no idea about. So I think, to answer your question, we have to get to our pain, because it's always longing to be free, I believe. And once we free it, then we can maybe live out our life's passion a bit more, step into why we're really here, maybe.
Did you mention that you might have had some alien type stuff happen? Did I hear that? I'm just double checking. I thought I did.
Oh yeah. I saw several different groups. And again, I had no background of anything like this, any belief, but I knew what I was seeing in front of me as clear as day. And so I started going, I found out there was such a thing as New Age, and there was a New Age store, and I would go in their alien section and just open books, and I would say, I've seen that, because there were drawings in there. None of them were the grays per se, that you see on movies. there was just different types, and really there was one particular group, and oh gosh, I haven't talked about any of this with anyone else, so you're really getting it, Jeffrey, because I've done a lot of interviews and I have not gone down this road before at all. But there was one group that I believe was really in my backyard to help me, and I say in my backyard meaning in my bedroom, and were, had my back. And I since believe that I actually had a contract with them that if it became too much, that they would help me get out. That's what I believe.
What
And
did they look like?
well, they were kind of. I haven't found their pictures in a book. There were several different kinds, but I've never found anyone that described them. But they were kind of large looking and kind of psychedelic colors going on, kind of emotionless, and would just be holding space around me. Scared me at the time, of course, but it was never felt evil or never felt dark. But they were certainly holding space. And yeah, there were. I don't want to get into too many. There was a lot of stuff happening in my world at that time.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
we've all seen weird stuff here. One of the weirdest ones I've seen are little cloaked beings in the woods that were small, like Jawas, but taller, standing around a black box. And a cat of mine, a friend saw it with me. We're like, "Do you see that? Do you see that?" And we're like, "Yeah, we see that." A cat of mine jumped towards them and they vanished.
Yeah.
And at that time, I'd been reading a lot of Celtic otherworld stuff, about fairy realms and stuff. So maybe that brought it on. I have no idea, but we've definitely seen weird stuff here for sure. So thanks for sharing that. Sound like you saw like psychedelic Buddhas or something, alien Buddhas.
Yeah. Oh, I like that thought. I'm sure they would too, but I think the Buddha is smiling more, and these guys did not smile.
Well, you say animals have the heart of Bodhisattvas, which is from Buddhism, right? They have the heart of love, right?
Oh, yes, they do. That's why I say that they are on the front line of the animal kingdom. Well, domesticated animals are on the front line of the animal kingdom's mission to help humanity. And Lord knows we need help.
Yes,
We need help.
Sure.
And animals have helped for millions of years, helped people evolve.
Definitely. Anything you'd like to share, Wham, or magic animal stories?
Oh, I have lots of magic animal stories. I mean, honestly, I don't deal with people much anymore. Except the people that I have to. Animals are, they've always been my teachers. They taught me how to reconstitute my life. They taught me at a particular point in my life when when I was coming off the street, they taught me how to, the real basic stuff about you eat when you're hungry, you sleep when you're tired, you play when you have extra energy to play. You just live your life in your physical body, and don't do stupid stuff. you know um, I mean, I grew up part of my life on a farm, and I mean, it was a farm, so they ate animals, but they weren't buttheads. My grandpa wasn't a butthead about it. It wasn't there wasn't he wasn't cruel about it, and he would go out of his way to make sure the animals were comfortable. It was, he was, as far as a farmer, he was kind of a softy. He was kind of not as a softy, but he was a man of his generation, so he would also eat meat. Um, but so it was kind of a practical thing. But um, you know, I would just, I mean, I don't have any pets of my own right now, and part of the reason I don't part of the reason I don't is that there is the house is owned by a cat, which is not mine cat, but although I help take care of her, so she wouldn't really permit any other beings in the house except, because it's just the way she is. But I haven't really been able to have a pet since my last cat, which was over 20 years ago. And just because he was such a unique, special person, um, And I get so attached to animals that are pets that if something happens to them, it wrecks me beyond words. So it's easier for me to take care of other people's animals or to take care of the animals that are in the yard than for them to actually have them in my home, because I just get too attached to them. And I don't know that that's good for me or for them, but I can certainly enjoy them and take care of them, outside. Um, but I watch them and learn from them a lot because they're just wiser people than we are. You know, I mean, I've known lots of animals in my life, and all kinds. I think probably one of my favorite animals was um, a friend of mine had a iguana, and his name was Spiny Norman, and his philosophy, he was a Taoist philosopher, and his philosophy was that life was a chef's salad brought to him by a species he hated, and and he detested humans. He just detested us, but he would eat the food he was given, and his owner, the guy who took care of him, Steve, could handle him, and he only pooped in one part of the house, and you'd come in, and you'd say, "Hi, Spiny Norman," and he'd hiss at you, and you'd say, "Thank you," and then you'd go on. He was a lesson in checking your ego at the door, is what he was. And I loved him. I thought he was great. His entire life was spent eating food and sitting in the sun and letting his tail get fat. That's all he cared about. you know. And I thought to myself, to have such a life where you're the crab of the universe, but you're loved anyway. you know. So, you know, I mean, I like reptiles. I like birds. I like birds a lot. Birds are great. They're hilarious.
I know in Florida they say these iguanas fall from the trees when it gets cold. I've never seen it, but I hear it's
Well,
true.
yeah,
I believe it. I believe it, but I
it,
haven't seen it.
it's a reaction to getting cold, is what it is. It's kind of like, it's sort of like an automatic reaction, like when possums get scared and they just freeze and faint. It's a biological response. They can't help it. And when it gets really cold and it freezes, I don't know if you've heard of this, Jeffrey, but alligators will rest in water, in cold water that's iced over, with their snoots above the surface of the water. So they can breathe, but they can be underwater where it's actually warmer than above the water.
That's true for
They don't
sure.
freeze. Um, so they're wise people. I used to watch my grandpa's cows because they always knew when the storms were coming. They always knew where to stand in the in the in the in the pasture, and they knew not to stand near trees. They knew to get down into the lower parts of the pasture when the storms were coming. Um, you know, People think cows are stupid. They're not stupid at all. They don't see any point in rushing around, but they're not stupid. So I don't know. I mean,
And
my life with humans has not been a happy one. I was just thinking about this earlier today. Is that I'm happier than I have been in other points in my life, or probably more satisfied, I suppose. But I just really have. I mean, talk about karma. I must have been a serial killer in another life, is all I can figure, because my life has been very difficult, and you know, I've kind of dealt with a lot of my issues, but it's like, I'm old now, and so there's hardly any time for me to actually live any life. So it's kind of like, well, I guess I've spent this life getting rid of all this crap. So, you know, maybe I can leave the world and not have to come back here. Animals are one of the few things that have made it bearable. So
definitely. Well, everything lately seems kind of darker than usual, or just with the Ukraine stuff and all the weird Trump crap here and everything else. But well, I guess
I'm actually all used to that. That's not
Tammy, what's one of the weirdest animal stories? Is there a particular species that's one of the strangest ones, or something that's weird that you can think of, a story? I'm sure you
Oh,
have a lot in there, so I know it's hard.
a weird one. I've
Or
never been.
maybe a different species besides, the norm, something different.
Well,
spiders. Spiders.
I'll okay. Since your request is spiders, I've got a spider story for you.
Ooh, I like spider stories.
I love spiders, by the way. Spiders are my friends. So
I like spiders too. I like them all. But gosh, a few years ago, well, it was actually right after I got these kitten brothers that I adopted them. And it was before the idea to write Animal Soul Contracts, my last book. Well, it was interesting because I kept seeing spiders in the house. And I don't have a buggy house, but I kept seeing spiders. And I always believe that when you see a lot of any one something, that there's some type of message that this species is trying to get to you for. Um, and then there was one night where I got to bed, and of course the kittens were still small enough. They're probably 5 or 6 months, very active, as in most of my stuff was in the garage because I couldn't be trusted not to knock everything over. And I realized I forgot my water, and I had to go back out to my kitchen. And I go out to the kitchen and I turn on the light and I can see, I saw a spider that they're one of the wolf spiders. And of course, there are different sizes of wolf spiders. Right. But I call them East Coast tarantulas. But there was a really good sized spider that was over. And my first thought was, oh gosh, I hope the boys didn't follow me because the spider doesn't have a chance. Was my thought was, oh no, because that's a toy. It's a moving toy.
right.
And so I immediately kind of threw a cloth, the towel that I found there on the kitchen sink, and I kind of just threw it over it. And then all of a sudden I hear a commotion in my background, and I pan to my left and I see a much larger spider and about 150 babies, and my two kittens in the middle of these spiders, overstimulated, jumping, going nuts. Right? I mean, they were just like, "What do we do with this?" And I went, "Oh my gosh!" And it was I didn't create a good bit of karma that night. I really didn't see a lot of great options to round up these spiders. But what was interesting was that I believe, like I said, that to me that's a really big message. If there's a spider message for me, that's definitely showing up for me that night. And it was probably the next day or the day after that where I was in meditation, and I got the idea for Animal Soul Contracts. And the spiders, when I looked up, Ted Andrews' books, or I started meditating on where the message of the spiders, it was around the written word and how to start a creative project, because they're so good at weaving webs and weaving stories. And once that idea came through for that book, I never saw another spider in the house. I never, I mean, I'm not going to say since I've never saw one spider, but I mean, all of a sudden I've been seeing spiders all the time, and then they were just gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, if a mom wolf spider brings all of her babies on her butt in her house, and then they all get out, that's definitely a message.
Yeah, it was nuts. They were
usually come in the house for stuff like that.
Yeah, because the babies are still. I mean, the babies weren't small, right?
They're tiny. Yeah. They're hanging on to her butt.
No, these were huge babies. I mean,
they were huge babies. Okay.
Because the wolves were so big that that to me, even the babies were. I mean, you could definitely see them clearly climbing up my refrigerator and the walls, and it was one of those Alfred Hitchcock moments that I would rather forget. So maybe was that weird enough, Jeff?
Yes, that was perfect. I like it for sure. Definitely. I worked at Petco before. I was around a lot of snakes and bearded dragons and water dragons. And one time I opened the water dragon cage and one jumped out on my head and I screamed like a girl. Like, ah! it landed like right on my head. And but they were treated okay. I mean, they weren't mistreated there, but it was just one of the situations like, I don't do it anymore because it's kind of like weird, selling that kind of stuff. But that was a long time ago. I was a bird specialist then, and I don't know how the hell I took the test and passed it somehow, like bird specialist, but I don't remember anything about it, like anything from it. But back then I remembered it, but now I don't. I can't remember a thing. But so I know you've been on a lot of TV shows too. Didn't I read that somewhere, like Discovery and stuff? Or have you been on some shows about this kind of stuff?
Oh, well, I mean, I was on Oprah, but not for this. I was on Oprah because I intervened on a couple, a man beating a woman in the park, and Oprah wanted to meet me. That was wild, and it flew me up for that. And I've been on CNN about this pet service that I did every month at a spiritual community, and and then I was on. You remember that show? What Would You Do?
Oh, yeah.
So I've been on there, and that's actually, well, that was connected to the Oprah thing. So, so because it was a set up thing where the man was beating the woman and nobody stopped all day long. It was crazy, but I went and got in his face. And then I go out. I fly out in a few weeks to be on Gaia TV on one of their interviews on one of their shows. That's pretty much the extent.
Nice. And what is before we close out? What about Miracle Wolf, Star Wolf, and Vision Wolf? That's Linda Star Wolf. You want to tell that story?
I mean, she's one of the top shamans in the world, and she has a miraculous story of her story with Vision Wolf, her dog, that grew to be 17 years of service with Linda, with Star Wolf. Doing this shamanic breath work. She's the creator of shamanic breath work globally. Has been thousands and thousands of graduates. And the cool story with how they came together is, remember the book? What was the book like 23 years ago? They got everybody going about the Mayan. They wrote it as fiction. But
Celestine Prophecy.
Yes,
you have a quote from that guy in your book, James Riffel. I was going to ask you.
Yes, I do. Yeah, he's in there for a reason. So he and his wife took in this stray, and she was pregnant. Molly, she ended up being pregnant, and while Molly was giving birth in their garage, because they weren't going to, send her away. They wanted to help her, and she was giving birth not too long after they brought her in. And all of a sudden the puppies that were coming out were stillborn. And so they pick up the phone and they call Star Wolf because they'd met her at some big thing in LA, where she was doing shamanic breath work, and they were talking as well. And so Star Wolf starts facilitating energy work to Molly and to the dogs. And all of a sudden, the first three that were born were stillborn. And then the fourth, there were 7 puppies, right? So if we correlate that to chakras, so the fourth puppy would be the heart chakra, right? And all of a sudden, the fourth puppy was also born, stillborn. And then Star Wolf started working on him, and he came to life right in front of their eyes. And then they, she believes that then he ushered in this new energy and this new birth, and the next 3 were born alive. Well, that's fourth puppy was all white. Of course, the mom was like a beagle mix. They never knew the father, of course, and strays can have several different fathers over the same, litter, right? That happens with dogs and cats. There can be a different father for each of the pups or each of the litter. And so he was the only one that was all white. The other ones looked much more like the mom. It was like, nothing fit. And they said, we think this puppy is yours. And she was like, no. I don't need a puppy. I'm touring. I'm doing, facilitating group, or she was a therapist as well. They invited her down to be on their farm in Alabama. They still lived there. And as soon as they met, she could feel the magic of their, really their soul reunion. And they went on to do amazing things. And he looked like a wolf. And she would get offers from people, would stop her in the airport and say, that's a nice wolf, because she was, they would go together in the US, travel in the US together. And she goes, it's not a wolf. I saw the mom. It's a beagle mix. No, that's a wolf. And some guy said, just name your price. I want your wolf. And she would get that time and time again. And everyone that met this dog was changed and moved for it. They were drawn to him like magnets. They would facilitate these groups of like 50, 100 people. And he, even from the time he was very little, he never barked inappropriately. He held this sacred space. He would walk around to every single person in the room and bring some type of healing to them, where the person would start crying. They didn't even know he was standing over them. I mean, it's really cool. And of course, Star Wolf is just as extraordinary of a wayshower. They're together. And you see that happen a lot, where, the animals that are meant to serve a greater number, they'll be teaming up with a person to do the same. It's a pretty cool story.
Definitely. And wolves are definitely, I like them a lot. I like old Coyote as well. And I have some of her books. I think there's one she did about Egypt and shamanic stuff. I have like an oracle set. That's her, right? Yeah.
Shamanic Egyptians astrology.
Yes.
With Ruby. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that and some other books from Inner Traditions. They always send me stuff, so I know I have some of her stuff. But what do you got planned in the future? What are you trying to conquer next? You always do animals, which is great, which is perfect. But is there anything in the future you got planned? And what's your link and stuff as we close out?
Yeah, well, TammyBillups.com is the link. That's a one-stop shop. I do lots of master classes, and actually Star Wolf comes into my master class on animal wayshowers and facilitates a tremendous shamanic healing. But my next project, I have a companion healing card deck that's coming out to animal wayshowers, and the art's already finished on 44 cards, and a lot of the animals that are in the book are on a card. I just got to finish writing and stuff, so hopefully that'll be, who knows, next year. When you're coming off of a newly, or at least when I come off of a new launch, I'm like, I'm never writing another freaking book again in my life, because it's a lot of work. And then of course life happens and the next thing comes through.
I collect those kind of oracles and cards. I have a lot of different ones, so that's pretty cool. Definitely check that out for sure. It sounds interesting. And that's TammyBillups.com, Animal Wayshowers, the light workers ushering in 5D consciousness. And that's by Bear & Company. And we appreciate it so much, Tammy. It's been a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, everybody. Waiting for old Graham Ganson. Hopefully he's not having any internet's troubles. I'm sure he'll be here soon. But Graham has done art for us for a million years. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Can you hear me, Graham? Put up your hands if you hear my voice. Can you hear me? Remember, no F-bomb. That's the only rule. He's a wild animal. I'm having to, before we unleash him. What's up, man?
I'm gonna go
How's
get
it
some.
going?
I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back.
Okay. I have that same weird Bigfoot, abominable snowman that you have back there, right here.
Right.
Yeah, that was like Animal Planet, wasn't it? Or something.
I gave him a paint job. My wife got him off a thrift store, or an auction.
I have a big one up here and I have a Bigfoot too, that the same company that did or whatever.
Right.
There's also a weird play set they did for Bigfoot and Abominable Snowman that are really hard to find. I have them, but like a dummy for some reason threw the boxes away and took them out or something. I have them in a bag.
Don't get me started on figures. Oh man, they're so costly anymore. Like especially the NECA figures. We're talking 45 a pop anymore. It's like, oh, they got the new Gargoyle series. I can't stop collecting. I love gargoyles, and it's like I just want them all, and they just keep coming out with more and more. Like,
and they just started a comic of gargoyles, a new comic book, gargoyles.
Yeah, I was tempted to buy that too. It's like comics, I really had to give up. I was into
I know the
Exo Manowar. Exo Manowar by Valiant Comics way back in the day. Awesome comic book. It's the same guy that created the second version of Iron Man, Bob Layton. He created this like organic like armor, like a symbiotic armor.
I've heard of
this
it.
guy was fighting. It was freaking awesome comic. And
How many comics do you have?
a lot. But
They're
I was
crazy. It's like a coca addict or something with these things. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too
they
much.
went out of business. Valiant Comics went out of business. They got bought out by Acclaim.
I remember
and then
Valiant Comics.
went out of business for many years, and they brought it back. And then I started getting into it again, and they would come out with like 7 or 8 different covers for the same comic, and one's $5, another one's $7, and up and up and up.
Another one's 70.
The other one's 100. It's like, oh man, it was just money.
The variants are ridiculous.
Yeah,
I try to avoid that, but some of them I'll do it. Like the Jokers, I try to do all of them, but not all of them. But the basic ones, I ain't gonna pay whatever.
It gets way too expensive. I miss the old days when they didn't have variants. It was like Gold Key.
Just to say I'm going to get the first cover and screw it. I do that with a lot of comics. Just get the first cover. Don't pay even attention to the rest of that crap.
Yeah.
Unless it's really cool. Unless it looks really cool.
I Wham.
she I don't know. Can you hear it? Did you hear Graham? Wham, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. He just said, "Hey, Wham."
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear. I was, I am really tired, so my brain was probably over there somewhere. I'm sorry.
I know.
Hi, how you doing?
We're good.
I see your cat.
Oh, that's Hades.
Hades.
I was listening to the show earlier, which is pretty incredible because I had a cat named Saber. I lost many years ago, like 2014. He was part bobcat. They're called pixie bobs, and we got him from some lady. The bobcat was coming around and knocked up the mother cat or whatever. And they're actually part bobcat. And lost my cat Saber. That cat was amazing. It's just he loved to be chased. He loved to chase me. I've never seen such a personality. And this cat, I got him at a job like about a year ago. A job where I was helping evict some bats out of a rich cat. And this little kitten comes up and he's climbing up my leg and he had a little bobtail, just like my cat Saber. And I was like, this cat's awesome. So I offered these people $50 and yeah, okay. So I brought him home. He is identical to Saber. Just amazing. It's almost like a reincarnation. I'll chase him all over the place and he just loves it. Such a personality.
We just did a whole hour on a lot of stories, animals, cats and dogs, and afterlife and weird stuff like that. It was good.
Yeah.
And I know you used to work at this place where you had to get rid of animals on people's properties, and it kind of sounded like Norman Bates or something.
Oh, man.
Are you glad you're not doing that anymore?
I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore. That was a terrible job.
Pest removal.
I mean, I did a lot of things, pest removal, and it's not a kind business whatsoever. It's
Right.
not. It's an experience. It was helpful in ways for my crafting because I did crafting he had a craft store too, and that was the part I loved. But the catching animals, I mean, there's state laws where you have to put an animal down. That's just the state law, and a lot of people don't realize that. They'll ask you to release it somewhere, and you really can't because it's a state law. I mean, it's terrible because a lot of these animals are just amazing animals. It's like, why do they have to be put down? It's really sad.
It has to get to you. It has to get to you.
Yeah,
I feel bad about. I have a mouse problem in a building outside that I feel bad about what I'm doing to them, but it is insane, and they will destroy whatever they can get up. They've ruined books. They will ruin. They don't. It's like they're trying to ruin your stuff. It's like they're sending in kamikaze teams, and I've never seen anything like it. But I have to put out those green little things that they eat, I hate doing it, but they're insane. They're
adorable, but if
insane.
you don't take care of them, they'll breed and they'll destroy everything.
I have amazing books, UFO books destroyed. Now finally I was like, you're gonna die. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. it doesn't stop. They broke into the bag of poison and ate it. It's like, are you Jim Jones rats or mice? It's like, what is this, Waco mice? It's like, I asked my neighbor if
they for a while, but they haven't been bad this year at all. I haven't really seen any out.
If he was dealing with them, he was, but doesn't sound like I am. Like, for some reason, there's a nexus point that's building out in the backyard, not in the house. We've had a couple in here, but not like out there. Like, it's just
it's crazy.
I think there's thousands of them.
With the guy I worked for, we would literally have people pay us like $300, $350 to come catch mice. It's like, really? I've never understood that. Some people just don't want to touch it, and I understand. I guess that's the part that they just don't want to deal with it, and that I can understand that part. But $350 to catch a few mice, like, whoa, it gets pretty crazy out there.
It's definitely, when you lose an animal, it's rough. We know someone that recently lost a pack of their puppies, and there was some negligence. We don't know him that well, but basically he had a lot of puppies, and he was an addict and did something with, I'm not going to get into too deeply, but he forgot to give them the parvo shots, and found a kitten and brought it in, and they got in the litter, and it killed the whole puppies. And just sad when that happens.
Man, like a virus, like a
parvo
virus.
Yeah. That thing wiped through there like nothing. It was the cutest puppies ever. And I know he's got to be feeling it, and because he's an addict and overlooked it and stuff. It's just sad. But I was thinking about that and them in the afterlife and stuff like that. They can come over to my afterlife with Jack and everybody. Me and Christina's afterlife with the pets and live there. Because he sounds like he's a dickwad. But anyway, so tell us a bit. You've been doing art for Church of Mabus for so long, I don't even know. First off, thank you. And we've been showcasing it forever. And
thank you for having it on your pages.
And we've been putting it all over the place. This is the person, any weird Church of Mabus art you've ever seen, this is who's been making it. And he's a very gifted artist. And let me tell you something else about Graham Ganson. I'll go on YouTube, and I found a weird video of him pretending to be an FBI and chastising me about breaking rules and the laws, and they were going to shut down Church of Mabus. And then another one I found like weird. I didn't even know you did the FBI one, but the one where you go into the DMV and ask if you can wear your hat because you're a Church of Mabus in the picture, and this lady's got the DMV, and you're saying it's your religion, and you have to wear your hat in the picture. Like, there's other stuff too.
I watch way too many British comedies. It's just
British comedy.
IT Crowd, one called Bottom, Young Ones. Rick Mayall is like my comedy god. My life is based around that guy. Just his sense of humor just lifts me up.
Yep, and we've been watching Mr. Bean lately. I like Mr. Bean.
I love Mr. Bean.
And Blackadder, which I like Mr. Bean a little bit better, but Blackadder's still fun. Some of the vulgarity in it's shocking. They're nasty in it. Shocking.
I named my youngest son after Mr. Bean. Mr. Rowan Atkinson.
Who you named your son after Mr. Bean?
Actor. Yeah, Rowan Atkinson. So my son's got named Rowan.
Nice. I didn't know that.
He's actually a really intelligent man. He doesn't even like doing the comedy bit. Like he's super intelligent. He had interviews where he didn't really care for doing the comedy. It's kind of sad because he's so good at it, It's like I kind of wish he would have done more of Mr. Bean.
I saw that he didn't want to do Mr. Bean anymore because of cancel culture or something weird. Like he made mistakes.
Comedy's rough anymore. I mean,
it's crazy.
You're on the borderline of upsetting everybody. It's
cancel
comedy's
culture,
a rough market these days.
Some of it I understand, but some of it's just lunacy. Like it gets crazy. I think people should go to court a little bit before you destroy them completely. If there's evidence, fine, but I believe Kevin Spacey's a dirtbag, even though I love his movies. I haven't seen one since all this crap happened. But part of me is like, God, I miss Kevin Spacey in movies. I wouldn't want to be alone in a room with him. I'd have to,
Man, that
But in the Marilyn Manson
pedophilia-
thing,
pedophilia is I see it everywhere. It's like every day I look at the news. It's like just today I was looking at Daily Mail, and it was a gay couple, nothing to do with gay people. I mean, but they adopted a couple boys, and they were, selling them off to people, and they were making videos of rape videos. It's like, this is just going on everywhere in the world. And why is it so prevalent everywhere? I just don't understand it.
I think
pretty sick.
I think it's probably always happened, and it's just
we just didn't know about it as much.
Now it gets exposed more, so it seems like there's more. But let me tell you, growing up the way I did, and I'm older than both of you, I can remember hearing this stuff going on, and then when I've done my reading in archives, like through historical records and stuff, and read, and I've had the opportunity to read people's diaries and stuff from hundreds of years ago, and this crap has always gone on.
Oh, definitely. It's just sad though. It's terrible. I've known a lot of people who have lived through it, and it changed my life in a lot of ways, because it's just like I never thought about it before until I really met people that have been abused, and it's when they really broke down and told me their story, it's like, wow, this is something else, something that really doesn't get put out there, and it's terrifying.
It's bad.
My heart goes out to all the people.
Definitely. My mom had it happen to her, which from her great grandfather, who was a preacher. He molested them all, and one of the sisters had to wear a bag from what he did, and they were afraid to tell anybody because he was such a prominent figure of society. And this is I don't even know if I've ever told this story, and I don't know if I should, but I had a situation.
They use death threats to people, their families, and everything. They really lock it down.
I had a situation happen to me that was kind of weird with an older lady when I was younger. She was in her 20s. I was 15, 16. We were in a pool, and she messed with me, and she tried to put her finger in a place where it shouldn't have been. In the old, never mind. But and I had never had a sexual experience in my life, and this lady did this stuff to me, and my dad found her passed out on me, trying to copulate me, and my dad was such a freak. He probably tried to blackmail her and get some himself or something. But my point is, it happened, but a lot of people treated it like it was a cool, good thing when it wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a sexual experience, but it was still, still like being molested. It would be different.
Yeah,
I'm glad it wasn't a dude. That would have been probably turned me into a serial killer or something. So at least there's that. But that happened, and I've heard people, like, oh, that's a great thing. No, it's not.
No.
There's different levels.
No, not really.
But as far as that's the weird thing that. And then later I learned about, I started self-pleasuring and then got called. A friend told my brother, and then had hundreds of people make fun of me and I got testicular cancer the next year. So that was like the springboard for it. It's like, hey, sex, this is great. I like you so far. but it's crazy. We need Vlad the Impaler to impale these people. We're going to summon him forth tonight with the Necronomicon. He's going to take over the White House and become president. But anywho, what was the main thing we're supposed to talk about? Your art? I love your art.
Thank you. It's been getting better to all these years. I mean, as my art, I have a lot of hard times with my art. Sometimes I'll look at it and go, this is crap. And I think a lot of artists have that. They'll do a project and it's like they'll look at it and go, this is garbage. I do that all the time. And some things I look at later, I'm like, this is really great. I think this has turned out really well. And my art's definitely improved over the years. I just wish I could do more of it. I've been doing epoxy paintings a lot lately. If you see in the
Nice.
background, these guys here, they're all 3D. They're epoxy on canvas, and then they're painted with acrylics.
Yeah.
And then they have a shine put on them on some of them. And those are actually really cool because I can add pieces of minerals like amethyst or quartz onto the paintings.
Yeah.
A lot of these mushroom ones have that. And it just looks fantastic. I even put little pieces of jumping cholla cactus, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the skeletons of those, the cactus, and they've got like holes in them. Really cool looking. I add those on my paintings, and they look really good. I also
is your house like your house is like a giant comic book store, from what I've seen.
It is. I got a lot of actual spawn and stuff back there. But here's a fox skull. This is what I'm working on right now. You can see there's like I think that's how it looks like turquoise. They color it to look like turquoise. Amethyst, and I dremeled these little designs into the skeleton, the skull. And that's the epoxy. It holds it really well. And then later on, we're going to gel paint the rest of it. We did a bear skull like this, and it turned out really cool.
You just got a ton of crystals, like crazy. Where do you get all that from? It's like a truck back up to your house of crystals.
We got that from our job. My wife and I worked for the same guy, and he had a leather crystal shop. And our last month of working there, that was our pay, basically all those crystals. But the thing is, he backtracked on what he promised us, and then we left. And so we only worked for him like 3 weeks, and ended up with all these crystals. And my wife was like, she offered to give half of them back, which was a good thing to do. We're not greedy, we're not crooked people, so we offered half of these things back, and he never answered. So here we are with probably $5,000 worth of crystals, which is
a lot.
Quite a bit of crystals.
Is it really $5,000 worth of crystals? Is a lot. It looked nice though.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, we got quite a bit of everything, all kinds of citrine, pyrite. I mean, all these different things. I don't even know what they are. It's just amazing.
Being around all those crystals, does it make your gooch percolate? The chakras.
It does. It absolutely does. The whole room just glows.
Yeah, it's like you're glowing all the time being around those crystals. It's a lot. What do you have any links yet that you want to give out for any of this stuff or anything?
Mainly just my Facebook page, which is Graham Ganson, and you might be able to find it at Mediandora. That's kind of a hard one to comprehend, but it's Medea with Pandora kind of mixed in, because I love that ancient Greek. I mixed those together, and I decided to do like a little craft business on Facebook. But I really need to get a web designer involved in making me a page where I can sell stuff, because right now it's kind of random and people can't really see prices. But if somebody came to me on my page and wanted some custom artwork done, maybe like a painting, one of these paintings had $40 or $50, I'd plus shipping, I'd do that, customize whatever they want. Or I do a lot of antler crafts. I don't know if you can see these. These are one of my more popular guys. These are made out of antler tips, usually mule deer, sometimes moose. They're antler mushrooms. They're really cool. People love these guys. And then I also sometimes I'll go to like thrift stores and buy a cheap toy, like a dollar toy. I bought a cheap plastic Stegosaurus, and I made this guy out of epoxy. If you could see him very well, but I made him into like a xenomorph. That's all epoxy.
Nice. Beazle was just in chat room saying his gooch was percolating too. Beazle,
nice.
Shabazz butt. Then we had Nick at lunch from Texas, a friend of mine in the chat room. We got a busy night here. Everybody's percolating. But yeah,
this is the big one. Beazle, sure. Nice.
Yeah.
One of the best things though. Women love earrings, so I also make these guys. They're just like the antler mushrooms.
Women's earrings, like mushrooms.
Yeah, I carved these. These are antler mushroom earrings, which are really cool.
Nice.
Those are
antler.
those are pretty popular.
Awesome. Do you have an Etsy?
I started one, but I need
crystals
to do a
would
lot
be good
more
on there. Probably they sell a lot of crystals on there.
I have a tough time like finding interest. You know, I don't know how these people do it. Sometimes you'll get these people that go to sell stuff and they'll have like instantly 500 people on there. It's like I don't know how they do it. It's like they usually have friends and stuff that'll add another friend of a friend, and I don't have that. So maybe one of these days I'll get the name out there a little better. That's why I need like a web designer to help.
And you gotta, it's hard. It's not easy for sure.
No.
It's a pain in the butt. Just depends, you know. We've had
and right now it's a terrible time. Like the economy. I mean, everybody knows. You go to the grocery store. Last year, a couple of years ago, you spent $50. Now you're spending about $115 on the same stuff you bought last year. People just don't have the money for a lot of stuff this year. I think. Housing market just straight up.
Neck at Lunch said I need to hit you up for some laser engraving designs. Been having a hard time finding good designs for my Glock slides. Is that a gun?
Nice.
What are you doing? Do you do guns?
I have a laser engraver.
Well, that's Graham Ganson on Facebook. I don't know. I didn't know you did gun handles. Your Glock slides.
I can make. I don't know how to make the gun. Fit it onto the handle, but I can make the handle. I actually can carve I did a lot of knife handles where I carved like lions and bears and stuff out of elk handles. Elk is really great for that stuff. And then you can polish it up, make it look really nice. Pretty cool stuff. Antler's amazing.
You blow glass pipe bongs.
I wish I was a glass worker.
I had someone sent me some once, and I broke the big blue one that I had that he made, but I forget who it was, but he sent me a bunch at one time a long time ago, and I plugged him. I need to re-find that email. That's always interesting for sure. And
that would be fun work.
So how much is what would you consider your spirituality? Do you consider yourself a Norse a lot, or is there other facets of it?
I'm kind of a mix. My wife is definitely into Norse. She is a Satru. She loves it. And I'm a bit because I have a lot of history in my last name. It's very Viking. If I looked it up, and it was they basically moved to Scotland. I'm under a clan Gunn, Gunn, under my Ganson. And a lot of my other side, of my mother's side, Slavic. So there's a lot of Viking in me, but I'm half that, and I'm half into like ancient Greece. I love it. I don't know. I guess it would be what's the word? Hellenistic. A little bit Hellenistic too.
Greek. That's Greek Hellenistic.
Yeah, it calls to me for some reason. If something just calls to you, that ancient Greek just calls.
Kratos calls to him. What about Kratos? Kratos calls to you. Kratos.
More so like Pandora and Peter and stuff.
Yeah. We've had some shows about the Greek pantheon that are pretty fascinating not too long ago. I'll have to send it to you if you didn't see it, but it's about
I saw that one. I was responding on the page when you guys were doing that show. It was like 3 or 4 shows ago. That was a good show.
Yeah, well, it was back in September or October, I think, actually. Yeah. A couple of people were on that did Greek stuff.
For sure. And so what else are you working on? You still do paintings and stuff, right?
Yeah, I still do acrylic paintings once in a while. But ever since I started using the epoxy, it's like that's all I want to do. But I still do them. I just posted on Facebook earlier this week a bunch of my old paintings I did throughout the years, a bunch of tractors and portraits people paid me for, some commission work, so people can see some of the paintings on there if they browse through there.
Were you doing some book covers or something? Are you allowed to talk about any of that stuff?
Yeah, I'm working on a book cover right now for not Steven Zimmer. He works for a publishing company, 7th Star Press, and It's for a fellow author he knows, and it's like a water dragon, but I can't show anybody yet. We're working on that, and it's turned out really good. I think I'm waiting to hear back from him for the final final go, and it's all set up. It's really looking good.
I've heard of Steven Zimmer from somewhere. Is he a fantasy author or something?
I met him on an old site called mamasfallenangels.com. It was a site of 80s heavy metal, rock and roll, and I met all these cool people on there. And he was on there too. And
is that still around?
I don't know if it is. One of the guys died that helped run it, and then the other guy, I think they went to Facebook. And I used to troll it bad, but I made all these friends. Back in the day, Axl Rose got on all this trouble of punching people and leaving concerts, and I posted Axl Rose is God, and it upset so many people. They're like, "What?" And they got on there and just rah, 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 rah. And later on, I let everybody know I was screwing around with them. It was me, and I made all these friends from it. I've known them for years. It was a blast. I also did a Satanist guy that was barbecuing puppies. He was going around the neighborhood and grabbing puppies, stray puppies, and barbecuing them. And man, they were just just going off. And I screenshotted all these comments, quotes, and stuff. I never laughed so hard in my life. But people will believe what they want to believe. It's like, yeah, it's online. You don't know what to believe. Half of it's crap.
So you're a master troll.
I can be at times.
I've been there.
Sometimes people just deserve it, especially the way people are nowadays. They take things way too seriously.
Yeah, with relapses once in a blue moon, but not very often. So, what are your future projects? When you do the epoxy, does that go in the oven?
No, it just combines two pieces, and then once you're done combining both sections, it hardens. But it takes a little while to harden, and that's why I have to work fast. Yeah. When I get a painting out, I'll put it on there. I have to use a lot of water and smooth it out, and I have to do my work quick because that epoxy will dry rock hard within like an hour, under an hour, probably 30 minutes.
Let's see here. Let me. Here's
nice.
Friend. I see friend in the back. Friend.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly just like him. See, mine has. You can tell mine's got pink job.
That's Yeti, right?
Yeah, Bottle Snowman. Yeah, it's from Animal Planet. Here's the other one. That's one you should get one year if you can find it. They're on eBay, but they're kind of I don't
nice.
know. That's the other one from Animal Planet. Friend, I see you. For no one's seen video right now, there's giant Sasquatch figures. Graham has an identical one that I have in the background. But those stupid Animal Planet sets are interesting, but expensive. I have them. I wish I didn't take it out of the box. That's all I know. Because now like $200 or $300 or something. But at least I have them.
I'm getting to the point where I can't even buy anymore. It's just I have too many, and I need to start getting rid of some.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was looking. I wasn't gonna buy them, but I saw these Lego Viking sets that were really cool, but they're like $1,000 or something because they're like hard to find or something.
I just got a Game of Thrones Mega Blocks set, and it's like that's funny because Game of Thrones is, if you've watched it, it's full of nudity, it's full of sex, and why do they have this toy for kids? Game of Thrones. I mean, well, what's Game of Thrones? I'm curious now. I'm gonna go watch that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't understand the marketing value of that one.
Yeah, they don't think, they just want the cash. I didn't know they had. I'm surprised they don't have more than that for that, honestly. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's definitely on the naughty side. And Man of War. I know. I've heard of that. Is it Man O War?
Did you see that pen?
I know what you're doing. The Stan Romanek. The pen. You know the Stan Romanek thing with the pen, don't you, Wham?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
It just happened.
I do. He's talking
Let's
about
make
it.
it totally obvious. It was like on the side like this. What was that?
Yeah,
An alien.
Yeah,
An alien.
he was faking alien poltergeist crap.
So stupid. He said he got beat up by the Man in Black, but it's probably like he made his wife hit him.
I'm sure
That's
they implanted the.
It was probably just a scene, you know, like a BDSM scene or something, you know.
Yeah, beat me, spank me, give me a black eye, and I'll say it's the Men in Black to the media.
Yep.
That's some crazy. I think he's out of jail now, but they used to want me to come to their house, which I would have went out of state, went to their house and probably get gooched and whatever drugs. Have this drink.
I've talked to some people who are diehard fans of his, and they just do not believe
they're crazy.
He faked the child pornography or anything. They think it was implanted on his computer.
Yeah,
it's like they just refuse to think it was anything of his doing.
He also said possum aliens came from space and
possum aliens.
Possum aliens.
Possum aliens.
They were aliens, but they're possums. I think he's guilty as sin. Stan Romanek, that he's a pedo. I've had people tell me stories about him being at conventions, and he has like all these little adopted kids, and one was like just hanging on him inappropriately. It's very sexual, and it just sounded very awkward, like weird.
I've never heard about that.
Yeah, someone told me that story.
Creepy.
That she was kind of like, you know, a little too weird, hanging like using them for a jungle gym. Just seemed weird, but who knows? You know, a guy that has pedo pictures on his computer and adopts little kids, that doesn't sound like a good scenario. I wonder if they got taken away or anything with all that. Who knows? But definitely creepy for sure. We got one for you, exclusive. Graham met Travis Walton. And Travis said something about me that was I don't remember what he said. Something about the Starborn Richard Dolan threesome situation that I told a story about, and he was mad about it or something.
It's like, do you know Jeffrey Pritchett? He's like, yeah, I know Jeffrey Pritchett. And then he was talking about how he was upset about the Nolan thing.
And what did he say though? Do you remember the exact words? Just that
not exactly, but it was about that woman you posted. I don't know if it even was a woman. Maybe it was a trans. I don't know, but whatever that picture was way back, he remembered that incident you posted that.
That was the crazy Steve Fermanti picture, and that was a long time ago. But basically, Steve Fermanti was on a show on KGRA radio, and with that ex of mine that used to be a Bud Hopkins patient, and they were making fun of me for living in a mobile home and calling me poor. And I had heard about it, and I went after them because I knew this girl named Sonic. That was her code name. And she was actually kicked off Facebook for hacking Richard Dolan and banned from Facebook forever. And she knew KGR Radio and Race Hobbs. And basically, KGRA Radio came out to her house. Her father owned Bolin Trucking, and he sold it recently or something. And I never knew her real name. I just knew this fake Sonic name. And she said that they came out, KGR Radio, Race Hobbs, and Bill Fort came out to her house and said she won the catfish contest. What? And from the radio contest, and her uncle and stuff ran them off and just said it was weird. But that Bill Fort pulled her aside and said, I'm not supposed to be here because I'm on the sex registry list. And we looked up Bill Fort, and he had gotten in trouble for raping a 12-year-old boy. So I found this out from her, and then couple it with them talking crap about me. I used it as a giant catapult battling ram and brought it to their door and trashed the place with it. And Race Hobbs released this crazy email admitting to all these people, admitting it was true, that he believes in second chances and I'm crazy. Even Richard Dolan said I was crazy on a show or something. But this whole thing was true, that this guy's working with him that raped a 12-year-old. And
I believe in second chances, but not for pedophiles. I don't have any remorse for pedophiles. I don't care what the excuse is. Just no excuse.
And showing up at a 15-year-old girl's house saying you won a catfish contest, this is weird. They ran them off, Race Hobbs and that guy. Yeah. But my point is, Steve Fermanti and Steve Hudgens from MUFON were one of the people that were talking crap about me. And Steve Fermanti, and I don't have anything against trans people. I don't care. My own sister is, I've never talked about this on a show because I just keep it to myself. My own sister is female, and she is taking hormones and stuff because I guess she wants to be a man. I have trouble understanding it, but I just don't, we just talk about games and movies. I don't bring it up. We might have made some jokes about it or something. But anyway, my point is, I don't pretend to understand it all. But my point is, I don't hate them, whatever they want to do. They don't bother me. Yeah. But Steve Fermanti posted this weird picture saying he married this Asian man. I'm not sure what it was, but the reason I shared it is because it was in a bed, like half naked in a bra, and he's like showing it on his Facebook that he got married. And it was just, I don't know, it was bad to share it in some ways, but it was one of those weird things, like, it was just weird. It was like he picked up a Taiwanese hooker that was a woman in his bed, and he's showing it on his Facebook. It was just bizarre. And I could understand if you meet someone like that fine and they're dressed and everything looks normal, but it was like in a bra on a public forum. It was just weird. But anyway, I didn't know Travis knew about that. And I didn't even say anything. We just shared the picture. But at one night, I went to that chat room on KGRA radio, and Jimmy Church was on with someone, and I decided Chip Plesher was with me and another guy, and I decided to call in their chat room. I didn't think I would get through. Next thing you know, I'm on the air on this network that hates me, and I could say whatever I want. And I said something like, Race Hobbs' wife does Dirty Sanchez's or something from like Howard Stern. The whole network. No, I said Race does Dirty Sanchez's on his wife's chest. And we're not going to get into what that is and everything, but it's just Howard Stern stupid crap. The whole network shut down. Someone hacked it at the same time. I don't know how to hack. No one I knew knew how to hack. They blamed me for hacking them, and I had nothing to do with hacking them. All I did was do a prank call, but somehow it got turned into prank call and hacked them at the same time. And then Jamie Havocan sent me a threatening video, threatening to hack me and show me this program with my addresses on it. And it was so stupid. In a court of law, he would have went to prison for it if he really did anything. And he's showing me like a threatening, one of their people showing me a threat. I still have it. And he's pointing like to these weird hacker programs going, Jeffrey, I got your ad. I could do this to you. And it was insane. And it was just crazy. But that network got really, Joe even talked about the weird Bill Fort thing on, big radio shows. And he, used it as a battling ram and a catapult to get them. So they probably want to kill me, but so far so good. They haven't. But don't talk crap about
especially
me being
now.
poor. I'm being in a mobile home. And the weird thing is, Chicken Lady, this lady,
Chicken Lady. I know a Chicken Lady.
And she was a Bud Hopkins patient. She ran off with like the sheriff's son and lived over there. And I guess they were intimate. I don't know, but it turned out I met this girl that was married to him, and she said he was a Satanist, and she ran off with like this weird hillbilly Satanist. They're not together anymore, as far as I know, a long time ago. But this same lady, this is where this really got weird. I don't even know if I've told this on air. She lived with me, her son was I forget, what race he was, but it was a different race. Filipino or something. I don't remember. Maybe Latino. I don't remember. But anyway, this little kid used to walk around my house saying inappropriate things, and he was young. Like, give me oral, suck my blah, 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 and just say it. And it was awkward. Like, why is this little kid saying this weird stuff walking around? And in the house, we used to watch Family Guy, and I would do impersonations like, why don't you come inside and get your newspaper money, Chris? Somehow she took all that and something I said on the radio and took me to court for it and tried to bring her son into court and say that he couldn't take his shirt off anymore because I used to do that. And the judge looked at her and said, you're not bringing your son in here. He heard my side of the story. I did the impersonations. Police laughed and I won, and she left. And later I found out that she would make up stories about people, and she did to a husband that he had raped her and he didn't. And she's like one of those weird people that like make up like Jerry Springer Bebe Moms or something. And basically just, I won. And that's what happened. I haven't heard from her since. And it was crazy, that whole situation, and tie it into KGR radio and all that crap. And it was insane. But basically the judge saw right through her crap, and I won, and it was funny. That same day, I had a weird thing happen where I worked before It's News. I put up this article about Obama. No, it wasn't about Obama. It was about some LSD scientist gets caught, and he has LSD, blah, 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 something. But it turned out it wasn't a real story because there's so much crap out there you don't know. But somehow a picture I put up had Obama with a donkey in it. And every time someone went to it, it would show Obama with a donkey that was inappropriate. And I didn't know because the picture I put up, I didn't see that when I put it up. They said it was the weirdest thing I ever seen. It was like a sexually inappropriate picture inside this picture of an LSD scientist that would, I guess, flick later once in a while. And that article went through the roof with so many hits. It was the craziest thing ever. I thought the article was just doing good, but it turns out it was because that weird Obama picture was in it that I had no idea how or why. And they first tried to blame me for it, but they believed me and took it down and said it was the weirdest thing they'd ever seen. But that day was weird. Like, that was a weird day. That was court and that weird article thing. But that lady's crazy. Her name's Carrie Boyer. I doubt they're listening now, but avoid her. And poor Bud Hopkins. My God, she's been on some TV shows too. Of some I've never seen them, but this was a long time ago, like back in probably the 80s or some crap when she was on these shows for this UFO stuff or whatever. But definitely some weirdness. But I didn't know Travis knew about the Steve Fermanti stuff. I told some story somebody told me about Richard Dolan and the Starborn sisters having a threesome. And that was a long time ago. I don't know if it's true or not.
Oh, for God's
I don't know if it's true or not, but someone important really told me it. And I know Dolan has a lot of situations where he is a man-ho and broke up his marriage and stuff. I don't know the details. But I was just laughing
a man-ho.
Travis Walton brought that stuff up. But Travis just
That's
recently
probably
said
true.
happy birthday. Yeah, it said happy birthday on my wall. So yeah, obviously
This is the seamier side of the paranormal world, right?
Yeah, the real crap side. And when I did know Travis Walton, Steve Pierce, who was in the truck with him during his encounters, went crazy and was calling my house going crazy because I did an article and said something that he didn't agree with that he had said, but he said it and he was going crazy, and him and Travis don't like each other. So I got caught up in some weird Fire in the Sky soap opera for a while with that too. That was weird. But Travis said happy birthday not too long ago, so somewhere I'm still in his repertoire, I guess.
The paranormal world is the craziest place I've ever seen. It's just all over the place. I mean, somebody will have an experience with this, someone will have an experience with that. That's stupid, but the other side's dumb too. It's like nobody wants to believe anything. It's a lot of accounts like demons and aliens. Demons are really aliens, or aliens are really demons. It's just people just backfire it all on everything.
Yeah.
It just never ends.
Have you ever had any paranormal stuff? Anything ever?
Oh, most definitely. I told you when I first met you about my little skinwalker. I believe it was a skinwalker event. It's pretty crazy.
What happened though? I'm telling
and if
you.
You have time, I can talk about it. But I don't know
tell me.
How much time
we got like 10 minutes. Tell us.
10 minutes.
So I could go into it a little bit if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it was interesting. It was my final year of high school, like 96, 97. And I lived in Arizona, Happy Valley Road. We used to have federal land next to us. It was a newer neighborhood, lots of desert. You weren't really supposed to go into it in the desert, but I always did. And so I'd go in the desert all the time. And I found this place about 2 miles down the road. It was desert. And I found this little alcove. It was almost like a little cave. And used to hang out there all the time. One day, I go out there with my bike. I'm collecting rocks and cactus and stuff. And all of a sudden, I get this voice in my head. It's like, get the hell out of here, like right now. And I was like, I don't even know where it came from. I'm like, whoa. So I did that, booked it on my bike a couple miles back to my house. It's hot out. Almost got heat stroke. I'm like pedaling for my life. And I see a helicopter like coming. And it's so hot. I finally get to my house and I run out to the pool because I'm just like ready to die. Splash my face with water. Up comes this unmarked black helicopter right above the roof, just sitting there hovering. And I hear another voice in my head. It's like, don't look up because they're going to take your photo. That's what I thought. And I didn't. I pet my dog and it stood there for like a minute or two and then it took off, which this isn't something overly paranormal. I mean, it was federal land. So maybe, maybe somebody called the cops or maybe they were checking it out. I don't know. Not a big deal, right? But the thing is, very shortly after this, I started like waking up in my sleep, like throwing my pillow violently in the air. I would see like a little floating figure, like a human shape or a little small being. It was weird. And I kept having this happen all the time. It was like every couple months I would wake up. I never had any sleep problems. Not a druggie. I'm not an alcoholic. It was, especially in high school, I would wake up and see these things. Like I laughed it off. I'm like, this has got to be some kind of waking dream. I always try to be a skeptic before I believe anything, which I think is a healthy thing to do. And so this thing would follow me everywhere I went. I moved to college, and same stuff happened all the time. And even, when that UFO happened in Arizona, the boomerang, around that same time, I used to go to a tech school. And I drove early to the tech school, and I would go to sleep, take a nap before the school opened because the traffic was nasty. And one day I had the sleep paralysis thing where I saw a little figure next to my window, and I had a knife in my door, and I was like, crap, somebody's out there trying to rob me or something. So I went to get the knife, and instantly, as I thought to go get the knife, I couldn't move, but I was fully awake. And, my eyes like shut mysteriously. They just, and I couldn't move. My brain was fully functional. Woke up, and I finally got out of it, and nothing was there. It's like, whoa. So it doesn't prove that was paranormal either, but it was weird. Another thing to add to the list. But
one second. What did the little being look like again?
It was just a shadow. I just thought it was like 3 feet tall next to my window, and first off, I thought it was a person, but it was too small to be a person, like a full-size person. But that's all I saw. I went into the sleep paralysis, and that was it. That's the only time in my life I've ever had the sleep paralysis. But here's where it really builds up. Is I kept having the thing where I would see the being above me. I wake up to see that, and I felt threatened by it for many, many years, all the way to 2004. And around 2004, I'd start to hear like native music randomly. Like it was weird. And I would even, I guess I was I would make animal sounds and I didn't even know why I did it. Like howling and stuff. I was like, why am I doing this? So just to get into this, my wife even my ex-wife saw the being once too. She woke up and saw it at the same time. Just like before this. I'm going all over the place, sorry. But
It's okay.
It's a lot. It's a lot to explain, and I'm trying to explain it quick so I don't run out of time.
I understand. One of the things supposed to happen with skinwalkers, they're supposed to try to get you to, what I hear from different people, try to get you to whack your family, so that's the way to become one or something. I've heard that from
this is where it gets good. 2004, my ex-wife worked for the airlines, and she didn't get home till like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I went to sleep that night. And this is from her perspective. She wrote a journal and everything, what happened, but I don't remember a thing. But what she said is she came home and she heard dogs barking all around her cabin, just all over the place. And she got kind of freaked and got inside. And when she came into the room, it was dark in there. She saw me standing on the bed. And she described me having black eyes, contorted body shape, just standing in a contorted way. And she went a little closer to try to see if I was just standing on the bed sleepwalking or something. She was kind of doubting it because I had that before where I would sit up in my sleep and just stare at her and talk like ancient language or some weird language, and just she would poke at me and I would usually go back to sleep. But this time she tried to do that, and apparently she said that I launched at her, started choking her, and which is freaky as hell. I didn't know anything was going on, but my subconscious like broke free. I felt it was like being held against its will. It was weird. I can't even explain it. But I broke free consciously, and I could hear this demonic shrieking sound. I couldn't even mimic that noise if I tried. It was the freakiest thing I've ever heard in my life. And somehow the door shut, and the cat was going crazy, just trying to figure out a way to get out of there. And I was finally like coming back to consciousness, and I was trying to tell her everything was okay now. But my voice, if you ever seen Mothman Prophecies with Indrid Cole, where he picks up the phone and he hears Indrid Cole, the voice sounded just like that. It was creepy. My own voice, completely different. It was, and then like the door closed by itself. The cat was going crazy, and I just can't explain it all. It was just intense. So what I think it was some kind of demonic possession. Whatever that was following through the years was able to finally figure out a way to possess me. And even like I had to go to work the next day, and I went outside and I could just feel freezing cold, something just staring. It just felt evil. And it's unlike anything I've ever felt in my life. And I truly believe, it was definitely something paranormal, something demonic. A couple of weeks later, I had an incident where I had a statue of Apollo in my window. Its eyes were glowing blue. And I was like, maybe it's the moonlight. So I brought him out over into the dark corner, and his eyes were still glowing bright blue. And I was like, holy crap. So instead of like freaking out, I was tired, and I just put a blanket over it and said, I'm not dealing with this. And after that, I've never had anything else happen. I've had one more thing happen maybe last year, and it was a totally different experience, totally different story. But like we had curtains in our room, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they just went. Shh. Wife was sleeping, no cats in there, nothing. It was like they just. But I bought a doll from a thrift shop, and I was making it into a goblin. So I'm kind of curious if that doll had some kind of connection to it spiritually.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's been a while.
We got about a minute left or so. What does your shirt say? I'm trying to read it. Your shirt. What does it say?
It says, "What a smashing glass you have on."
Oh, okay.
It's from Rick Mayall. It's a bottom show. It's
nice,
so funny.
Nice. Well, give us a link again before you go. What's another link? So you can find you.
I have one on Wix. It's Mediandora, but I don't know if anybody's going to be able to find it. It's a tough one.
How
to
do they
find.
get to you? What's the profile on Facebook that you want people to get to you through?
Just my name, Graham Ganson. GRAHAMGANSON.
He's always hanging out in the Church of Mabus group and on my wall. You can find him. But we appreciate it, man. We'll have to get you back on sometime. You did really good for sure.
Sorry that paranormal was so quick. It was just I was trying to get everything out, and it just kind of sounds random and jumbled, but
it was good.
The time was short.
Yes, indeed. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate your art, and we definitely thanks so much. It's been good having you on.
Yeah.
Thanks guys.
Thanks to Wham. Thanks to Super JoJo. And everybody have a good weekend. And we'll catch you next Friday with Bruce Hallenbach. We're going to talk about some Hammer horror and some Sleepy Hollow weird horror from the Small Town Monsters.
Well, I may have. So do you want me to come back?
Hold on just a second. Let me check what's going on with that.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be Jay. That's
I just realized that myself. But yeah, you need to be here for sure. I mean, I just didn't even realize that. Because he had to change his date.
Send me a link.
I definitely will. And thanks for even saying that. That flew my mind. For some reason I just thought you'd be here automatically and didn't realize it was Jay. But we changed it. But I'll send you the link for sure.
Okay. All right.
Thanks everybody. Have a good weekend. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Have a good one.
Take care, man. We'll get you on again sometime. You did a good job.
Thanks, man. That was fun.
All right. Take care. Your internet didn't fuck up either. That's good. Oh, what